All right. So, welcome everyone to InfluenceHer. Presents the Business Retreat 2.0, the virtual experience. And our mission at InfluenceHer is very simple. It is to connect women influencers who are purposeful and passionate about building relationships with other women. So I am your host. I am Tyaisha, and I'm also the founder of InfluenceHer. And I'm really excited to be rolling out the Business Retreat 2.0. And it's 2.0 because we did this last year where we brought some amazing dynamic women in various fields to help all of our influencers who are either launching a business, thinking about launching a business, and they have so many things, so many hurdles that they need to jump over. So so today, I'm really excited to bring you none other than Miss Achie. So Achie is an entrepreneur, speaker, and certified coach for women. Her specialty and mission is to help women identify and debunk limiting beliefs. It's those beliefs that causes women to hide their awesomeness. I love that. Achie believes it's time to reprogram your thinking for wholeness and success. She is also the co-creator of Behind This Woman, a podcast and online community that educates, serves, and inspires through candid conversation and thought-provoking stories. So welcome to InfluenceHer, the Business Retreat 2.0. Achie, how are you?
Thank you. I am well. How are you?
I'm doing so good. So I'm so glad to talk to you because as a believer, I know the power of words, and I have to watch my mouth a lot of times. So can you just first maybe share your journey to how you come to a place where you're helping women debunk those beliefs, and just kind of what you do?
Yes. So I have been a speaker and certified coach for, I would say, about 7 years, 5, 7 years. And I went through life. Things were going well. I was traveling. I was doing all the things, and I just went through life. I experienced life. Had a hard time in my marriage. We just had a baby. Things were just going down. I had a situation happen in my family with my dad. My grandfather passed away, and I realized that I was carrying too much. But the thing is, as a Black woman, we carry a lot just because that's what we do, right? And that's just what we're accustomed to doing. And we're just taught to power through it. So I had a situation that happened where one night I ended up in the emergency room. Now, I am one that I don't, I am into alternative medicines. I'm not really, or holistic medicine, excuse me. I'm not really into hospitals, medicines, traditional things like that. And one night I had an anxiety attack. And I did not even know that I was dealing with anxiety. I had no idea that I was carrying this weight. I had no idea that it was parts of me that were unsettled. I just thought I was living life and I was just handling things properly. And my son was asleep in the bed. It was about 11 o'clock at night. My husband was away. My son was asleep. And I was on the phone with my dad, and I literally felt like I was about to die. And because I've never dealt with an anxiety attack before, I did not know what it was. And I've never been in the back of an ambulance before. I've never been to the ER other than to visit someone who's in need. And I thought it was over. Now, to give a little backlog, I lost my mother when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And she was 37 years old. And at this point, I was about 3 months shy of becoming 37. So I had this thought in my mind. That's the first one of the limiting beliefs I'll talk about. This thought in my mind that I would not make it to my 37th birthday because she passed away 2 weeks after her 37th birthday. So my thought was immediately, this is what happened to her. It wasn't a panic attack. She had breast cancer, but this is what happened to her. She went to the hospital. She never came back, and she passed away. My son is going to be a son with one parent, and he's going to deal with all the mess I dealt with growing up. These are the beliefs that are going on in my mind. And so already in a panic attack, I go into a deeper panic because I'm thinking this is the end of my life completely, what is happening. And I had to call a neighbor over to, my son was asleep, but I had to call a neighbor over just to be in the house with him, And the sheriff came in, and I'm like, okay, why? The ambulance was there, the fire people were there. And then the sheriff comes in. I'm like, well, what is the sheriff doing here? And they said, well, since, you'll be gone away and your son is there, The neighbor actually has to go to work at 6 a.m. And if you're not back from the emergency room by then they're probably going to have to take him to Child Protective Services.
Oh my goodness. So panic attack times 3 now.
So I'm like, how does my son end up in the system? Like that quick from a panic attack. So I'm in full blown panic and I'm in the back of this ambulance and I'm the thing is, I didn't know what was happening. They're trying to tell me, well, ma'am, are you under immense amount of stress right now? I'm like, yes, but what does that have to do with anything? Again, I don't know what I'm dealing with. So I get in the back of the ambulance. They're like, are you sure you want to go to the hospital? And at this point, I am shaking uncontrollably. So had I been by myself, I probably would have just tried to power through it. But my thought was it would be irresponsible of me to lie here and die. And I have a almost 2-year-old son that just thinks he's going to see his mother in the morning and then have him to walk in the room on me and I'm no longer. So that was my thought. It's irresponsible for me not to make sure that I'm okay. So that is actually the only reason. It's horrible, but that is the only reason I went. Like, why would you not go for yourself?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So one of the limiting beliefs that played out there was everybody comes before you. I was not willing to make sure I was okay for me. Now I love my son, but I wasn't okay with making sure that I was okay for myself. It had to be because of him. It had to be an external circumstance, not internal. So I go to the hospital and they check me out, and the nurse there, he was a male nurse, he was wonderful. And after everyone left, they took my blood, all the things. He came in and he told me, he said, I know what you're dealing with. He said, and I'm just going to say that they're going to take tests. He said, and everything's going to come back normal. He said, what you need to do is to put yourself first. You are in here because you have neglected yourself. And that just shattered my world. So what that did, it forced me to say, really, why am I in here? I'm not just in here because, oh my God, my marriage is going through a hard time. I mean, anyone who is married, guess what? If you haven't been through a hard time, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Mm-hmm. It's relationships. You're dealing with two different people. It doesn't make me horrible. It doesn't make my husband horrible. You just go through things, right? New mom, dealing with, coping with that, dealing with family issues. My grandfather passed away. It was just a conglomerate of things that just laid on me. And I said, so is it these things that happen? Because life happens to everybody.
Right.
But what it really is your mindset around these things, how you're processing them, how you're carrying them. And I just said, okay, I literally just went through and just start writing down the things that I believe and things that I was taught. Even, I grew up religious, you know what I mean? So things I was taught in the church of how I should be as a wife. The man is the primary vision carrier. So you just need to make sure you serve his vision. And like all of this was coming into play because I'm like, I'm miserable. What's happening? I'm upset. So it was like just things compiling on top of each other and it just all exploded.
Yeah.
And so when I came out of that, I said, I am determined to show women how they can unleash themselves from these beliefs, excuse me, that we've been taught our entire lives that we think are true because our great-grandmother told us, because our mother told us, because our aunt told us, because our teacher told us, because our pastor told us.
Yeah.
And it's being bold enough to say, I don't know if this is true for me. And when we don't do that, it's like we put ourselves in this box. We force ourselves to stay in this box and we mute ourselves and we diminish our creativity because in my gut, I feel like I should do it this way. But my mom said it goes like this. And we mute ourselves. We ignore that whisper. I was at a conference this weekend and I heard someone say, you have to listen to your inner whisper. But we're taught to ignore that with all the thoughts that are piled on. So that is what I do. So I teach women how to be bold enough to debunk those limiting beliefs, to say, These aren't actually true.
Right.
These aren't actually serving me. And then what do I need to do to really navigate through what I've been taught? Because it's not easy. When you have been taught something, a way you're supposed to be, think, act, react to certain things your entire life, and then you say at an instance at 37 years old or 45 or 32 or 20, however old you are, and say, that just is no longer serving me. It's more than just releasing the immediate thought. It's releasing all the feelings and emotions around it that's been built up over the years, right?
Yeah.
So it is a whole process. It's emotionally triggering, it's spiritually triggering, it's relationally triggering, because it jars you, it jars your core, where you say, these things are no longer true for me, and I have to be okay with living my truth. It's almost like, to me, it's the purest definition of like really setting the captives free. It's like taking the shackles off and saying, you know, what you don't realize is that you've been walking around with these your entire life. And it's been, it's been preventing you from running. You can't run. You just learn how to walk really fast because you have these shackles on.
Right.
So
So
let's take these off.
yeah. So, oh my goodness, that I don't even know where to start with my next question, because I'm like, all that was good, from how to unmute yourself, doing things because of something external. You're
Yeah.
not identifying, like, so like, where do you start? Because like you said, like, we learn these things either from our mama, our church, even, some of it is things we've kind of taught ourselves, that we begin to kind of teach ourselves, even with, life experiences, relationships, and things like that. But like, where do you start? Because, I know for myself, and just friends and women in my own circle, how challenging it is sometimes to not do a thing because there's an expectation to do that thing. And when that expectation doesn't serve you, but
Right.
you still do it, because it's kind of like, well, they expect me to do it. And so it's like, I don't know, it's like guilt. Like, I don't even know how to, like, what to name it, but you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so much of what you said, like, spoke to me personally, and I know those listening are definitely picking up on some things as well.
I think it starts with, like I said, the lady who I heard that quote from, it was just 2 days ago. It's Mally Ronkel, and she said, "Trust your whisper," and that is the thing. You literally have to start there. So it could be. I'll talk about this because this was a thing for me, right? So when it comes to being a married woman and having a big vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was taught that the man is the carrier of the vision. Is on, excuse me, you're only allowed to have one vision in the house, or else it's division. And I am to serve his vision, to make sure that comes to fruition. And hopefully, by serving his vision, that my vision is fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
But that necessarily isn't the case for me.
Right.
So what happened is that I've muted myself. I've muted the big dreamer. It's like, okay, I have these skills to help him, and this is wonderful. My husband, he's a big thinker. So I have these skills to help him, organize and manage and, do those things to make sure he's operating properly. But that's not serving the core of me. So that breeds frustration for me when I feel like I am not doing what I am supposed to. And it's not just me. That's why you go to a cafe and the barista has an attitude, and they got all the sleep at night. Okay.
Right.
They come to work every day. They're getting their paycheck every week on time. They hate their jobs. They don't want to be there. There's something else they want to do. They're serving coffee, but they really want to be, painting. They really want to be a singer. They're miserable. They don't want to be there. They're not happy with what they're doing. And that breeds frustration. It's like, okay, deep inside of me, even if you don't know how to put the language around it, you don't know really what it is. It's like, I just have this inner frustration about me. I'm irritated, I'm tired, I'm, you know, I'm inflamed, I put on a ton of weight, I'm always looking frustrated. Internally, it's like you're doing this to yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I would say the first thing that I did, I evaluated that. I became super sensitive to my feelings and my thoughts whenever I had those type of emotions. Super self-aware of, okay, what's happening? Because we go through that so much, we just learn to ignore it. Excuse me. We learn to ignore it, and we just say, oh, you know what, I got to get to work, or, you know, I got to get this baby ready, or let me get this dinner ready, or whatever. You just push through, and we've ignored it for so long. So it's getting back in tune with yourself to say, okay, I'm feeling something right now. I believe that we are made from the same threads as God. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we are creators. I believe that we are intuitive. We have an inner knowing, and we've ignored it. We've turned our brains off, and we've looked to others to tell us what we should and should not be doing. But there's an internal compass that kind of, no, that's not really it. But no, well, Mr. Smith said this is the way. And internally it's like, no. And it's like that inner guidance. Yep. To start trusting that. I think that's the first step. And then you can evaluate, okay, in this particular situation, I am feeling frustrated. Why is there frustration around this? There's a part of me that's not being, a deep part of me, not a fleeting part, a deep part of me that's not being fulfilled. What is it? So I would say the first step is self-awareness. Okay. And just evaluating those individual things. So I think that would be my answer.
Wow. Achie girl, you are just snatching edges. Just okay, because I'm like, I'm about to make me some notes over here, because it's just so true though, because especially when you're talking about the baristas, like, you have so many people, whether they are like, you know, they have that passion, that purpose that's like nudging on them, right? But they're still going to this job because at the end of the day, like, just be realistic. Like right now, that job is paying the bills. Like this purpose and this passion of mine is great and all, and I'll probably be more fulfilled and excited doing it. But right now, you know, I got bills to pay, so it's a constant struggle on, you know, do I pursue that thing that makes me happy? Right. Or do I stay in something that I'm going to work every day frustrated, mad as hell for no reason? Well, it's a reason, but nobody else really understands why I'm upset. And every little thing irritates you, and it's just like, why am I here? Like, I just want to pack up and leave, and just leave right now. Like, and that's the story for so many people, even those that maybe, you know, still are doing their 9 to 5 and still working on their business on the side, because ultimately they want to make that shift and be able to do it full time. So I'm speechless, girl. Because like I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready for all of this, because you up in my business, okay?
I was about to say, not pulling your personal edges.
Yeah, yes, you are pulling personal edges, okay? Because I'm just like, yeah, because I go to, you know, because, you know, outside of, you know, this platform, you know, I also have, you know, a 9 to 5 that I go to. Okay. And, you know, it's when you gotta get in that prayer closet in the morning, I'm talking every morning.
To even get there, to get to the job. If you skip the prayer closet, I might not get in today. You might not see me.
I'm just like, if I don't get in that prayer closet, and I'm talking, I gotta find a prayer closet when I get to work to just keep me on the path. Like it just be one of those kind of things, like, you know. So it's just like, you know, how it's tough, because like, you know, with the people that you work with, like, you know, do you also help them like kind of identify like what those purposes and passions are, like those things that's like nudging them? Because like, you know, sometimes you just really don't know when to take that full leap off into something else amazing that's going to be fulfilling, because it's tough being tied to something that no longer really feeds you.
And that's really hard.
You know, and when you really know that, it's kind of like, yes, this is paying the bills. Yes, this is providing me other support. Yes, I have healthcare. Yes, I have all of these things. But at my core, this is no longer feeding me. You know, so it's like, like what you do.
There's no amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no amount of money that can fill that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. And I know people have jobs. I know there's bills that need to be paid. And this is not a roar cry for you to walk in tomorrow and say, the hell with this job, I'm gone. That is not wise, right?
Right.
So, but I'll share something else that I did. So the first step I say would be self-awareness and just becoming more in tune with what you really want, not what you think, not what someone said. This is what you really want. And something that I implemented was a gratitude practice. And what this did for me, let me turn this off. What this did for me, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize I didn't turn this portion off of my computer. I don't want to disturb us. What this did for me, because I did not know the next steps, it literally allowed God to move the universe on my behalf. So what I did, based on me becoming aware of what I was dealing with, and then becoming aware of what I wanted, I started writing it down. I started going on gratitude walks and speaking things out loud. And the first thing I used this technique on was my marriage. And I'm so open about it. Some people are like, why are you telling people you had a hard time? I am so open about it because if you look at the divorce rate, clearly people are having problems.
Clearly.
So, like, everyone's not living happily ever after. Everybody knows somebody who's gotten a divorce. So it's a thing. And I just feel like the more open we are about it, it's like, let's not try to act like this thing doesn't exist, because it does. So I was going through a really tough time in my marriage. I think was it the 7-year mark or going on the 7-year mark, which I hear is really tough anyway. So I was going through a tough time in my marriage, and I said, okay, ladies, we cannot change a man. Let me remind you, even when we try, we can't, right? And I said, I know I cannot change him. I cannot change, what he does and doesn't do, what he think. I cannot change him. I am not God. But what I can do, I can change me. I can change my perspective, and I can put gratitude around our marriage. And so it was times where I would walk and I would walk around and be in gratitude, I've tried to be in gratitude. I'm so sorry. I tried to be in gratitude and I just could not. I remember walking and saying, I am just thankful for my I am so thankful for my I could not say I was thankful for him.
What's wrong?
Right. I was like, I'm not thankful for him right now.
Right.
I hate him. Right now, I don't even want to be in this marriage. Right. If I say I'm thankful for him, that means I actually want to be with him right now. And I don't. But it's like, I just kept going at it. And I said, you know what? I am thankful for my husband. I'm thankful for the tough times we're going through. I'm thankful that we are growing, individually and collectively. And I really start putting gratitude around it. And so what I found that gratitude does, because I have heard about gratitude practices, I'll be honest, I'm like,
side eye.
Now. Yeah. Does that really work? Right. I'm thankful. Okay. Hallelujah. You know what I mean? Like, does that really work? You know what I mean? And I'm like, again, I grew up religious. I grew up in the church. We confess. We don't have gratitude around things. So I'm like, that stuff doesn't really work. But me, I am very logistical. I like to research. I want to know how and why things work. So I started doing this like deep research about gratitude. And I found that being in gratitude literally changes the structure of your brain. It creates different neural pathways in your brain. And I'm like, wow, is this so? So I start putting gratitude around everything. So it started changing the way I looked at things. And when you change the way you look at things, it changes the way things show up for you. And it's literally like God moving the universe around on your behalf so that things can work out for you. So when I didn't know the next step. He was not going to go to nobody's counseling. He wasn't going to go sit down and talk to the pastor. He wasn't going to sit down and talk to a therapist. He wasn't about that. So what else can I do to make sure that I keep my myself and my relationship secure, I started putting gratitude around it. I am thankful for my husband. I am thankful for our lives. I'm thankful for our visions. And it's like, it gave me like this, it releases endorphins. So I'm like, I'll go outside pissed off and I walk back in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. So even if things were not going the best, it still allowed me to look at a different side of it and have compassion and say, you know, we all walk around with the proverbial bag of trash based on our past, how we grew up, how our parents raised us, what we experienced in life. And what's showing up is not personal. It is not an attack on Achie. Right. What's going on is a reflection of what we've dealt with in life. You know what I mean? So it allowed me to say, this actually has nothing to do with me. So what that did was gave me compassion. So with me having compassion, it also softened him some. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Let's talk about this. So I'm just giving an example of one thing that I put gratitude around. And I did that with, I still do it now with, when I tell you every area of my life, I no longer, before I used to try to make these hard, concrete plans and strategies and this and that. I no longer do that. I leave it up to God. And I don't mean that in the way that we've kind of been taught. I mean, in the literal sense, every day I just put gratitude around what I want to change. And then when the steps come, it happens so seamlessly. I mean, literally, it happens so seamlessly, so natural. You look up and you say, oh, okay. You know, how is this happening? Mm-hmm. And I'll tell a personal story. I'll share it. I'm hesitating, but I'll share it. So one of the things on my gratitude list is that I'm really hesitating here. I'm going to share it. I'm going to go ahead and share it. Okay. So one of the things on my gratitude list I talk about is having an amazing circle of very wealthy, high level, high thinking people, right? And I said, okay, I know where I am going. I've seen glimpses of my future self, of my vision, of what I'm supposed to be. When we see those things, we just think, oh, that's a cute dream. It may happen, it may not. That really exists, okay? It really exists in another realm. Seriously. Our job is to get in alignment so that we can become the person that can live that out. So more and more I get glimpses of who I am and the type of life that I'm living. I'm like, okay, so I need to get here. Like, I love my friends, I love my family, but to get to where I see that, what I understand is that my circle has to change. It has to be elevated. So if I say I am going to be not a millionaire, but a mega millionaire, that means the people I need to be in the room with need to already be there. I need to be the lowest person in there. So that is something I start putting on my gratitude list. I have to tell you that this weekend, I know the lowest paid person in the room. It was a room full of mega millionaires. And it didn't even hit me because I sat there and I just, doing my thing. I was in work mode. And I just looked up and I said, okay.
There go one. Oh. You are one.
But you understand what I'm saying? And it's not a conversation. I'm like, how many millions do you have? It was like a silent thing that I noticed, like, okay, this is the first step. But 6 months ago, this was not your story. Or 3 months ago, or however many months ago, this was not your story. But that is something intentional when I say it happened so naturally. It's like, it gives you the freedom to release the pressure that we put on ourselves around succeeding. Because if we try to do things our way, it's like, what am I going to do? Make a list and be like, okay, well, I think this person, I think this person. It's like, no, when we relinquish that control, it happens so seamlessly. So for you, you're wanting to not be at your job. So on your gratitude list, whatever it is that you want to do, if it's, you know, digital conferences or whatever it is you want to do, or in-person conferences, and you're ready to be complete with your job, then you put on your gratitude list whatever it is that you want to move towards. That's what you're thankful for, as if it already happened. And so that's the thing. It's connecting your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotion to it as if it already happened. The Bible talks about it as being like the spirit of expectation. Same thing. Because when you expect something to happen, you act like it's already done. You act like it's literally already done. So when you act like it's already done, so if I say, okay, you know, I have a bouquet of roses for you, you're going to be so excited. Like, these are beautiful. Oh my gosh, they smell so good. Thank you. I'm so excited. I can't believe you thought about me. Oh my gosh. You have to, people can think it's crazy, but you have to have that same level of expectations as if it has already happened. So how can you think, act, be like the person you want to become, right? And then you put that on your list and you go over it every single day. And when I tell you, things move and it releases the stress. I'm not saying you don't have to work, but it's like the gentle nudges, the gentle guidance of, what about if I get this idea come and you say, well, instead of doing it this way, what about if I do it that way? And then immediately you work on it and it just blows up and you're like, oh my God, I don't know how this happened. But the thing is, had you not initially released the limiting beliefs, you would say, well, I can't do it this way because when I used to work under Mr. Smith, he told me statistics say that 9 out of 10 people, so this won't work. I only have a 5% chance of this. You've already cut yourself out. That, even when we're talking about hardcore statistics, limiting beliefs, because we live we're infinite. We have infinite power. So the power that we have supersedes any statistics, any evidence, any knowledge. Things happen and it's like, wow, that's not supposed to happen. You've tapped into something greater.
Right. So for the gratitude list, should one have multiple lists depending on what they're projecting gratitude around, or is this all one encompassing list that you create for around gratitude?
So for me, I'm really simple. So if I try to do too much and try to do the most, I'll do nothing.
Okay.
So it has to be super, super simple for me. So, I mean, for me, I just have one gratitude list. Some people have multiple. Some people have a list where they may talk about the things that's already happened versus the things they're believing for. I combine mine because I find that when I am in an emotion of what I've already received, and then right next to it, I put what I am looking forward to, the same emotion is attached.
Okay. Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if I say something like, you know, I'm thankful for my wonderful marriage, and then I say something like, I'm thankful for 25 additional clients. Mm-hmm. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? So I already have my marriage, but then I'm thankful for 25 additional clients, and I'm in the same mindset, the same emotion, the same frame of thinking, and I'm connecting it together. So my mind doesn't actually realize that, oh, you don't have that. It's like, oh yeah, we have it all. How do we move things around to make sure it gets there? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is there a certain time frame one should exercise? Like, I'm sure this is something you should exercise ideally all the time, but when you're first doing it, is this like a 30-day thing, or is it just until things begin to manifest themselves?
I am very practical. So and some people, they need like, okay, this is a 30-day practice. But for me, it's like a lifestyle. Gotcha. You know what I mean? It's definitely a lifestyle. So most of the time, like I remember our friend Stacy Flowers, she does her gratitude walks in the morning. And that's like a good time frame. That's how I started. I started doing my walks in the mornings. But sometimes, I mean, I have a toddler and things are changing. So sometimes I can get out in the morning and walk. Sometimes I can't. You know, sometimes I have to write it down in my notebook. I have a wonderful journal, gratitude journal that we got from a conference. It's a magnificent. So sometimes I can do that in the morning. Sometimes I have to do it in the evening. Sometimes I have to do it while my son is napping. So for me, the quickest way to get me to not execute is to put too many guidelines around, whereas some people need the guidelines. For me, my life is different. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a family business as well. My husband and I work together. So my schedule is very different. If we have, things that we have to fulfill, if I was able to go for a walk for 3 days this week, but then the schedule changed and I can't, I just have to fit it in wherever I can.
Where you can. Good.
And then it's not just the 30-day thing. It's literally, it's a lifestyle. It's even if you're washing dishes, like for me, if I'm washing dishes, I'm like, you know what? I'm thankful for this. And man, I'm so excited about this. And I'm speaking things out. It just, whenever you can get it in.
Yeah. Cause you should always be speaking life into whatever it is that you want to see manifest. So like you said, I like that you said it's really a lifestyle. I think some people who may struggle with, consistency and doing something, sometimes it's easy to be like, just start off like doing it for 30 days straight. But it really is a lifestyle. It really is.
For some people, that 30 days does work. It does. But for me, I'm the kind of person, if again, I've been doing something for a week at 7 a.m. and then if my schedule changes, I'll get discouraged and say, oh, I messed up. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
So I have to say, well, where can you fit this in? Do you need to do gratitude at 10 p.m. once everybody sleep? Go for it. You know what I mean?
Right. Definitely do what makes sense.
Yeah.
So Achie, this was so good. This was so good. You snatched my edges, and I'm sure a few other people edges that are listening. But just in closing, like what encouraging advice could you give someone who is just in a place of just feeling stuck, and they just like I heard everything you said, sis. But what's one of those like nudging things that can just kind of help somebody literally get out of whatever rut they may be in, mental rut that they're in?
It's not true. It's not true. You're not stuck. Everything is framed by how you think. Everything is framed by your perspective. If you think you're stuck, then you're stuck. If you think you're not, then you're not. And when I say that, if you don't believe you're stuck, you start subconsciously moving, or things start subconsciously moving around to get you out of that situation. But when you think, I'm stuck, you're probably going to stay stuck. So it's really about your perspective and how you think. A best friend of mine, she had a similar situation where working a job, and her end game is entrepreneurship, but she's been working a job and she still works a job today. This is an episode I talk about on our podcast. And she said that what helped shift her perspective is that she did say she put gratitude around her job and just thinking about the fact, okay, although I don't want to be here, I am thankful that I do have a job. I'm thankful that my bills are paid. I'm thankful that I am able to, help people. It's not my ideal, but this is where I am now. I'm thankful that I am going to allow this to, as a training ground to my next destination. So that narrative goes from, I'm thankful for this temporary thing I'm in versus, damn, I'm stuck. Oh my God, what am I going to do? So I would just say, shift your perspective. It is all in your mind. And I mean that. It is all in your mind. It's the same thing what we hear years ago, the old adage of the glass is half empty versus half full. Mm-hmm. It's really all perspective. Life in its entirety is about the way you see it. And I know that sounds really simple, but if you first change how you think about where you are in your life, mm-hmm. then you can start being aware enough of those thoughts that you have, those limiting beliefs that's been holding you down, how you can put gratitude around things, how things can shift for you. It's like the first thing is realizing, I need to change the way I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
And then you can move forward from there.
we'll go from there. So tell everybody how they can follow you, how to connect with you.
Yes, I am. Well, I was going to say I am Achie. That's confusing. On social, you can find me. On social, you can find me at I am_Achie, and you'll see the spelling of my name. It's ACHIE. You can also find me at IamAchie.com, and on Facebook, I'm at Achie McKeachern as well, and you'll see that when she posts the flyer.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Achie, this was awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining the Business Retreat 2.0, sharing so many gems. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me. It has been wonderful. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening.
Okay.